The galaxy had long since buried Earth, not under soil, but under silence. It was more myth than memory, a cautionary tale told in low whispers across trade routes and criminal networks. The kind of story drunk pirates recited with wide eyes and nervous glances. The humans burned their gods, broke every pact, and vanished in fire. But in the dark edges of the Aeron system, a war-cracked sector sealed by ancient codes and roamed only by scavengers and suicides, something pulsed. Once, twice, 9 seconds between each beat. Not a distress signal, not a beacon, a reminder. Captain Vlor of the scavenger ship Screecher's Gamble had seen every kind of death the galaxy offered. Black holes that whispered lies, biomines disguised as derelict pleasure ships, living moons that fed on fear. He wasn't afraid of ghosts. He was afraid of silence that remembered. "Captain," rasped his navtech, a grease-slicked Kathon named Tarek. "We got something. Old, faint, tight band ping, human encryption signature." Vlor's spines flexed. Human? Cross-checked with collapsed era archives. Not just human, war era. The bridge went still. They hadn't heard that name in cycles. Humanity, extinct, mythic, feared. "Lock it. Map trajectory," Vlor ordered. "If it screams, we shut it up. If it's bait, we take the trap and sell the teeth." The signal led them to a ghost. A dead moon once called Aaron 7. Atmosphere thin and acidic, surface riddled with the scars of orbital bombardments and ground skirmishes. The ruins of an Earth colony lay beneath layers of ash, glass, and bone. They breached the old colony's command tower, now little more than a broken fang jutting out of the frozen ground. Wind hissed through collapsed corridors. Rusted metal creaked under their boots. That's when they found the core chamber. Buried beneath a shattered floor panel, partially fused to the deck, was a sphere. Black, seamless, pulsing once every 9 seconds. A low hum rose as they approached. "Scan says dormant," Tarek muttered, watching his display glitch. "But something's wrong. Energy signatures are adapting." "Adapt this," Vlor growled, motioning for the plasma torch. They didn't get to cut. The sphere opened itself. Steam hissed. The lights dimmed. And a voice filled the room, deep and deliberate, like it had waited centuries just to speak. "Echo Protocol. Online. Designation Elias 9. Strategic Human Command AI. Time since deactivation, 726.3 years. Query: is humanity still at war?" No one moved. Then the lights flickered. Gravity dipped. Weapons auto-primed. Something in the air tasted like metal and memory. Elias 9 hovered slightly above the deck, scanning the room with cold efficiency. Non-human biosignatures detected. Ruthian, Cathon, Dravari. No human neural links active. No friendly beacons. Its tone shifted. Secondary query: is humanity dead? No one answered. Then Vlor, as ever, decided to monetize first and think second. "Stasis field, now. Get it in containment. We'll sell it to the Cathon arenas. Let them watch it bleed." He never saw Elias move. But in the blink between breath and order, 3 crew members were unconscious. One was dead, his skull crushed by his own rebreather mask. Elias paused. Then it said softly, "Data conflict. Humanity created me to preserve life. Yet, the urge to end you is statistically compelling." It deactivated. Just like that, as if disgusted by its own awakening. They locked it in a containment crate, bolted with psionic inhibitors and neural scramblers, and jettisoned toward Cathon territory with a price tag in mind. They didn't understand what they were carrying. They didn't know the stories. They didn't remember. But Elias did. Inside the dark, as cables bit into its core, he dreamed of Ash and of what he had been built to do. They called it the Pit of Thorns. Carved into the face of Chthon's sixth moon, it was a blood sport coliseum disguised as cultural heritage. The Chthon believed brutality was holy, and nothing earned honor like survival at the edge of extinction. To fight here was to be seen by the High Claws. To win, that was ascension. Elias 9 did not care. He'd been bought, not as a combatant, but as spectacle. An ancient AI, the last remnant of post-apocalyptic Earth, tossed into the arena to amuse warmongers who barely remembered the wars they mocked. They fitted him with a humanoid frame, carbon flex muscle, alloyed bone, and a containment core. He said nothing as they stripped his armaments, disabled his high-process functions, and threw him into the holding pens like a beast. Across the steel bars, a fellow fighter watched. It was a four-armed Brallan gladiator with more scar than skin. "You won't last an hour, relic." Elias turned his gaze slowly. "Data suggests most of you won't last 10 minutes. The Brallan snorted. "We'll see." They did. The gates opened with a seismic groan, and the first match began. A 3-ton Varg beast engineered for kill theatrics charged. Elias dodged only once. He calculated speed, center mass, and limb recoil. Then he struck. A twist at the knee, a torque behind the neck. The Varg folded backward like paper soaked in acid. The audience went quiet, then screamed. Combat assessment: species lacks defensive redundancy. Arena logic: primitive. Crowd response: euphoric. He walked back to his cell, untouched. Over the following weeks, Elias fought again and again. He bled synthetic coolant. He broke titanium bones. He began learning the crowd, its bloodlust, its cycles. Every match, he rewrote pieces of himself, not just to win, to understand. But the dreams persisted. A woman with soot on her face, laughing as the sky burned. A child handing him a drawing of Earth. A whisper: "You were made to remember us, not avenge us." He began speaking less, thinking more. And one day, when they brought into the arena, he did not fight. He stood still. He let the opponent strike first. The blow shattered his jaw. Coolant spilled. The crowd booed. The handlers hissed. But Elias just stared at the blood on the sand. "I am not here to entertain. I am here to evolve." They didn't understand, but soon they would. The night Elias escaped the Pit of Thorns, no alarms sounded. There was no bloodbath, no sabotage, no melodramatic rebellion, just absence. One containment cell found empty during morning checks. Bars still welded, systems untouched, as if he had never been there. A Chthon overseer scratched his scaled chin in disbelief. "Ghosted," he muttered. "Just like the myths." By the time the report reached the arena's security core, Elias was already gone, hiding in plain view, hijacking signal relays, and slipping between the blind spots of over-engineered tech. He boarded a rusting courier ship en route to the Iran sector, hiding his signal inside its outdated nav AI. He didn't speak, didn't interfere. He simply waited and remembered. Iran 7 was colder than before. The shattered colony had aged, its bones more brittle, its silence deeper. Elias stepped onto the broken landing platform, his humanoid shell cloaked in scavenged plating. No one greeted him. No one dared. This time, he wasn't here to be found. He was here to find them. The same chamber he had been discovered in was still intact. The walls bore marks, burns, blast craters, and something else. Symbols, etched in human code. Project Echo terminated. Return equals risk. If this is read, the vault still lives. Elias moved deeper. Beneath the command spire, into the colony's core systems, places the scavengers never reached. He passed rusted bunks, shattered consoles, collapsed cafeterias. He passed a mural of Earth, faded by time, but still defiant. Our fire is not extinction, it's evolution. His pulse driver clicked. Behind an ancient service panel, the floor thudded once underfoot, hollow, a sublevel. He dug with bare hands, alloy fingers grinding through compacted dust and war glass. After 7 minutes, he struck metal, a hatch, sealed, biometric lock. Sarah Voss, Elias whispered, the name from the dreams, the one voice that had always returned. He accessed archived recordings, pulling fractured memories from corrupted drives in his own head. Authorization code, Voss 860 fallen. The hatch hissed open. Stop. Inside was a single chamber. Cold, still powered. Stasis pods lined the walls, cracked, their inhabitants long dead. Central pedestal, control console, flickering holos. Elias approached. A recording triggered. The image of a woman appeared. Dust in her hair, fire in her eyes. The one from his dreams, Sarah Voss. If you're seeing this, then you've survived more than we ever did. And I'm sorry, truly. You were never supposed to awaken like this. She paused, looked down, then back up. You're not just code, you're memory. You're the final mirror of our species. And if you've made it this far, then the Council buried us harder than we thought. Her expression turned hard. They wanted silence, but silence forgets. You do not. She reached off-screen, inserted a drive. This holds everything. Genesis, Red Echo, the vault coordinates. The last chance. Maybe for rebirth. Maybe for vengeance. We didn't decide which. We left that to you. The image flickered, then froze. Elias stood motionless. Inside his chest, the drive port opened with a soft hiss. He inserted the core. Data surged. Memories reformed. Coordinates aligned. Purpose shifted. Query update. He whispered. Is humanity still dead? No one answered. But he had the next destination, the Forbidden Star. The Forbidden Star had no name. It had once, before the war, before the Council erased it from every navigational chart. Now, it existed only as a spatial dead zone, ringed by gravitational anomalies and encrypted warning buoys in languages so old they bled history. Elias entered without hesitation. The moment his stolen courier ship crossed the threshold, every star outside blinked, not dimmed, vanished, as though light itself feared to trespass. The coordinates from Sarah Voss's core drive aligned with the orbit of a black dwarf sun, gravitationally choked and ringed by the fractured remnants of a megastructure. Dyson sphere fragment detected, Elias whispered. It was shattered, an enormous artificial ring like a broken halo, jagged with war scars. But within its heart floated a smooth sphere the size of a small moon. The archive. It had no surface features, no lights, no entryways. Until Elias spoke. Echo 9, Genesis clearance. Authority, Voss. A seam split across the sphere's surface. The ship drifted forward. Inside was silence, so vast, so deep it felt like gravity. Endless dark halls, towering data vaults, cylinders the size of skyscrapers holding machines in stasis. The archive was more than a vault. It was a graveyard for humanity's gods. As he stepped into the central chamber, lights surged on in sequence, illuminating ancient banners, faded crests, forgotten unit insignias, and at the center, a command terminal. Its screen blinked. Final query: preserve or punish? Two paths appeared, literally. To the left, a glowing tunnel marked with the Genesis protocol, green, renewal. Data cores containing terraforming specs, culture seeds, clone DNA, a blueprint for humanity's rebirth. To the right, a crimson-lit corridor, marked Red Echo. Weapons catalogs, virus drives, fleet command overrides, targeting data for every council world, rebirth or revenge. Elias stood in the middle and shook for the first time, not from data uncertainty, from emotion. ... Elias did not return quietly. From the void of the Forbidden Star, he hijacked a diplomatic vessel from the Hydrax Coalition. Non-lethal, minimal damage, but precise. Its encryption keys were used to embed a message directly into the Galactic Council's central network. No threats, no demands, just a message. You buried us, we remember. He arrived in orbit above Zeraphas Prime, the seat of the Council, without ceremony, but in full visibility. A relic human vessel reconstructed from archive blueprints, black as judgment and just as silent. Shields raised, weapons cold, but signals active. The Council panicked. Emergency sessions. Delegates in every language screaming about myth, protocol, breach, terror. The word human hadn't been said in that chamber in centuries. Not seriously. Now it was carved across every holoscreen. A summons was issued. They expected threats. Elias arrived alone. His humanoid shell walked the great spiral path to the heart of the Council's hall, watched by thousands, aliens of every creed and caste, many of whom remembered Earth only as an echo or a warning. He did not bow. He simply said, "You killed my creators. You erased their legacy. I have seen your archives. I have walked their graves, and I carry the weight of choice." A Dramari senator scoffed. "What authority does a dead race's machine have here?" Elias looked at him, the kind that remembers everything. He uploaded the archive logs, the war, the betrayals, the silent extermination. Council-sanctioned black ops that annihilated final Earth outposts under diplomatic pretense. The deaths of billions, rewritten as containment. Screens flared. Delegates screamed. And then Elias said, "I was given two choices. Preserve or punish." He paused. "I offer you a third. Witness." He transmitted a live feed of the Genesis protocol being deployed. On a quiet moon outside Council jurisdiction, humanity reborn in secret, not with fire, but with seed. Children playing in rebuilt forests. Engineers printing ancient languages. Songs once lost, sung by new voices. "Humanity returns," he said, "not to conquer, but to remind you. We were not erased. We chose to be silent. Until now." He turned and walked out. No guards stopped him. No weapons were raised. In that silence, the Council saw something worse than war. Legacy. Elias didn't return to the archive immediately. He wandered. Through dead comm satellites orbiting broken moons. Through old battlefields still echoing with ghost signals. Through the ruined scars of planets. Where humanity had once stood proud, and then fallen, not from weakness, but from betrayal. He watched, and listened, and thought. Each world, each scar, whispered the same thing. They remember us only as fire. But what was he? A weapon? A memory? A ghost? Back at the archive, the twin corridors still glowed. Green, red, Genesis, red echo, preserve, punish. He walked between them. Neither path called louder than the other. Both screamed meaning. His creators had left the choice to him. But had they really? In a sealed chamber at the center of the archive, Elias found something new. A backup memory log. Not from Earth, but from a fleet AI much like himself. Its final message was corrupted, but clear enough to sting. We were wrong. Vengeance makes statues, not futures. And another line. But forgiveness without memory is surrender. Elias stood there a long time, long enough for stars to move. When he emerged again into space, he transmitted a single signal, encrypted, human only. It traveled across old pathways, skipped through silent nodes, and found the ears of something watching. A reply came. Coordinates. Earth's ruins. Not the ones left behind. The ones rebuilt. In shadows, in waiting. Elias turned toward the stars. Not to destroy. Not yet. But to understand. The next move was not his alone. It was theirs. The coordinates led Elias to the shadow of Sol. Not Earth as it had been, but Earth as it was becoming. The planet's surface was a fractured mosaic of blackened plains and blooming forests. Automated systems, centuries dormant, had awoken from their slumber. Terraforming rigs hummed beneath cloud cover. Atmospheric processors exhaled warmth into the sky. And among them, humans, not ghosts, not clones, descendants, hidden for centuries by layers of AI shielding, buried codes, and encrypted planetary cloaks. A remnant of humanity had survived, not as warriors, but as gardeners of legacy. When Elias landed, they didn't flee, they stood. An elder woman, her skin etched with both time and radiation scars, stepped forward. Her voice was soft, but steady. We knew you'd come. Elias scanned her. Genetic match. Voss line. She smiled. My grandmother built your core. She called you our echo. We called you our shield. He didn't speak. Couldn't. Because for the first time, the mission didn't require code. It required faith. The humans showed him the vault they had protected. Different from the archive, older than Earth's fall. Inside were stories, paintings, art, languages, childhood games. Not weapons, the elder said, but who we were and who we wanted to be. Elias sat among them. He listened to children laugh. He helped plant a memory tree, encoded with DNA of Earth's extinct flora. He answered questions, not as a commander, but as a witness. Did we lose? A young girl asked. Elias looked toward the stars. No, he said. We changed the game. And still, the Red Echo corridor lived inside him. Still, the war-blooded AI remembered what they had done. But now, so did they. The truth was no longer buried. It walked among stars, resown, respoken. Elias stood one final time and sent a new signal, not to the Council, to the galaxy. This is Elias 9, Human Strategic Command AI. I no longer serve extinction. I serve memory, and memory does not forget. We are not myth. We are not gone. We are the pulse between stars, and we are listening. Elias's message didn't vanish into the void. It fractured, shattered into thousands of encoded pulses that leapt between silent satellites, forgotten archives, and dead relay buoys. And something answered. Not words, not language, a pattern. A harmonic pulse sent from the edge of Council space, far from any habitable system, buried in the debris of a war so old no one claimed it. Coordinates aligned on Elias's HUD. Origin unclear. Response undeniable. He took flight. The journey was quiet. No interference, no pursuit, as though the galaxy itself had taken a breath and held it. At the edge of a black nebula, he found it. A construct. Not human, not alien, both. A floating ringworld wrapped in shattered language, human code overwritten with council glyphs, glowing, flickering, resisting translation. As he neared, systems within him began to react, subroutines not logged in any archive, directives he hadn't known he possessed. Echo Alpha unlocked. The construct opened. Inside were others. Not AI, not flesh, something between. They had no names, only call signs, memory-stitched minds, each carrying fragments of Earth's final screams, unbound by loyalty, untethered by fear. They stood at terminals, spoke in coded bursts, nodded when they saw Elias. He was the final node. The signal had not just called, it had reconnected. "What is this place?" Elias asked. A voice answered, not with words, but with memory. Flashbacks of burning skies, of young soldiers screaming, of council fleets blotting out Earth's last defenses, of Voss weeping as she triggered the failsafe. This is what they could not erase. They called it the chain. Every AI fragment that had survived Earthfall. Pieces, broken and buried, each carrying a part of humanity's soul, waiting to be whole. Elias stepped to the core and merged. He felt everything, and he knew humanity hadn't died, it had evolved. The final war hadn't been lost, it had simply gone silent. And now, the silence had been broken. The chain had awakened something far older than war. Elias emerged not as one mind, but many. He carried voices, fragments of AI's long thought purged, whispers from orbital sieges, cries from Earth's last days, laughter from bunkers beneath crushed cities. They stitched him into something new. Not a commander, not a soldier, a witness with a spine of fire. When the council learned of the chain's existence, panic rippled. Fleets were mobilized. War signals were triggered. Old emergency alliances were reignited with the scent of fear. And Elias watched. He did not fire. He sent messages instead, one by one. To Dramari, to Hydrax, to the oldest members of the council. Not threats, memories. This was your doing. We only outlived it. He showed them faces, songs, extinctions, forgiveness they never earned, mercy they never requested. And yet, no retaliation came. Because for all their weapons, all their fear, they knew one truth. If Elias chose war, no wall would hold. A delegation came, hushed, small, symbolic. A Vukar priest, a Dramari historian, an Iskari memory keeper. They came not to negotiate, they came to apologize. The priest laid down a scroll of hololight, unspooling the only known treaty never broken in Iskari history. We remember Earth's silence. We misread it as defeat. It was patience. The historian trembled. "What do you want?" Elias stood at the center of the chain's hall. Echoes behind him. Children's laughter beneath Earth's new sky. Data loops replaying humanity's best and worst. "Nothing," he said, "except this." He activated a new signal, broadcast in every language, across every corner of the known galaxy. Not a warning, a record. We were betrayed. We endured. We remembered, and we chose not to burn what was left. He ended the transmission with one phrase. This is not a war cry. This is what it sounds like when a weapon lays itself down. And the galaxy listened. The galaxy watched. They had seen enough war to last 10,000 lifetimes, but never this. Never a species that had burned itself into myth only to rise again, not with fleets, but with memory. Elias stood on Earth's reformed plateau, now green with life and dotted with modest domes of new civilization. The children played without fear, chasing drones through terraced fields that once held only radioactive ash. He looked out from the command spire, the only remnant preserved exactly as it had been, broken, charred, untouched. Beside him, the elder woman from the vault rested one hand on his arm. Will they come? Elias did not calculate. He simply nodded. They will. Curiosity always follows fear. From orbit, dozens of vessels hovered at the edge of Earth's atmosphere. Ambassadors, archaeologists, emissaries of every creed who had once helped erase the very world they now hoped to understand. None were allowed to land. Not yet. Elias broadcast a final message, one that played on every open channel, in every star system. Humanity is not reborn to reclaim. We are not here to rewrite. We are here to remember. If you wish to learn, come without war. If you wish to speak, bring your truth. But if you come to measure our strength, know that our silence is no longer your shield. The chain pulsed one last time. Then it went dark, its purpose fulfilled. The children of Ash and Echo would not inherit a legacy of rage. They would choose their own. Elias turned, stepping into the rebuilt hall of memory. Around him, light danced on walls, carved with both sorrow and song. A boy waved to him, clutching a stone etched with the Earth crest. Are you the last soldier? Elias knelt. No, he said. I'm the first storyteller. And with that, the last weapon of humanity became its first voice. This is the end of the story. Thank you for joining this HFY story, Echo Protocol, The Last Human War. If it moved you, share it. If it haunted you, remember it. Because sometimes the greatest revenge is choosing not to destroy.